What happens when a sitcom star's jaw gets wired shut and it costs him his career? Today, we're diving deep into the shocking reality behind Ken Lawson's journey from comedy gold to courtroom drama. And trust me, this story has more twists than a Hollywood thriller. You remember T from the Parkers, right? That smooth-talking, scheme-cooking best friend who always had a plan that somehow backfired spectacularly? Well, the man behind that character has lived through plot twists that would make his TV storylines look like children's bedtime stories. From violent altercations with music executives to pandemic struggles, Ken Lawson's real life has been anything but a sitcom. But here's what's really wild about this story. While most child stars and sitcom actors fade into obscurity, Ken has managed to reinvent himself multiple times, and the way he's done it reveals some incredible truths about survival in Hollywood. So, buckle up, because we're about to uncover the real Ken Lawson, and I guarantee you'll never look at the Parkers the same way again. Born Kenyatta Lawson in West Covina, California, this wasn't your typical Hollywood origin story. Picture this: a suburban kid who was so naturally funny that he could turn a teacher's lecture into a comedy show. That's the kind of raw charisma we're talking about here. His family gatherings became his first stages, and those dinner table performances were preparing him for something much bigger. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Ken didn't just stumble into fame, he strategically built his way up. His first major break came in 1996 within the House alongside LL Cool J. But here's the thing about Ken that most people don't realize: he was already thinking 3 steps ahead. While other actors were just happy to get any role, Ken was studying the business, understanding how to make himself unforgettable. And then came the Parkers in 1999, and this is where Ken's genius really showed. Thaddeus Radcliffe wasn't just a character, he became a cultural phenomenon. But what made T so special wasn't just the writing, it was how Ken brought this specific type of friend to life. You know, the one, that buddy who's always got a get-rich-quick scheme, who'll borrow your car without asking. But somehow you can't stay mad at him because he's just so damn charming. But here's what's fascinating about Ken's approach to this role. He didn't just play T, he became the blueprint for every smooth-talking sitcom friend that came after. The chemistry between him and the cast, especially with Countess Vaughn, was so electric that fans genuinely believed something was happening off-screen. And maybe it was. Maybe it wasn't. But that mystery kept people talking, kept them invested, kept them coming back week after week. This is where Ken's story takes a turn that most people don't see coming. When the Parkers ended in 2004, Ken faced what every black actor in Hollywood knows all too well, the dreaded what's next phase. The phone stops ringing, the offers dry up, and suddenly you're yesterday's news. But instead of panicking, Ken did something brilliant. He diversified. Music had always been Ken's second passion, and while the acting gigs were slowing down, he dove headfirst into songwriting and producing under the name Ken L. Now, did he become the next Jay-Z? No. But he understood something crucial about longevity and entertainment. You can't put all your eggs in one basket. This move into music wasn't just about creative expression. It was about survival, about staying relevant, about keeping his artistic muscles flexed while waiting for the next big opportunity. And here's where Ken's character really shines through. During this quieter period, he didn't retreat from the public eye. Instead, he became an advocate against bullying, using his platform to spread messages of kindness and understanding. Think about that strategy for a second. While other actors might have gone silent, Ken was building goodwill, staying connected with his fan base, and positioning himself as more than just a funny guy. He was becoming a voice for positive change. Cypress La Sixa comeback story gets even better. By 2015, Ken landed in The Cut on Bounce TV, reuniting with Dorian Wilson from The Parkers. This wasn't just another job. This was Ken proving that his comedic timing was still razor sharp, that his fan base was still there, and that he could carry a show again. But here's the kicker, the show also let him showcase his musical talents, performing on screen and proving that his years in music weren't just a side hustle, they were another weapon in his artistic arsenal. But then came December 2019, and this is where Ken's story takes a shocking turn that sounds like something out of a movie. Picture this. Ken's at a sushi restaurant in Hollywood when a confrontation breaks out with music executive Wack 100. Allegedly, Wack accused Ken of talking to his wife. and what started as words escalated into a violent altercation that left Ken with serious injuries, including a wired jaw. Now here's where this gets really crazy. Ken claims he lost his role on In the Cut because of these injuries. Think about that for a second. One moment of violence, one confrontation that lasted minutes, and suddenly years of work, a steady paycheck, and a career comeback are gone. The lawsuit that followed wasn't just about personal injury. It dragged in Birdman and Cash Money Records, turning Ken's personal trauma into industry drama. But here's what's remarkable about Ken's response to this setback. Instead of retreating, instead of letting this incident define him, he used his recovery time to reflect, to plan, to prepare for what came next. And when 2020 hit and the pandemic shut down Hollywood, Ken was ready. While other actors were struggling. To adapt, Ken had already learned how to pivot, how to survive industry upheaval, how to keep moving forward when everything seems to be falling apart. His role as George in the sci-fi thriller Lumina proved something important. Ken wasn't just a comedy actor anymore. He was an artist who could stretch, who could take on dramatic roles, who could surprise audiences who thought they had him figured out. From sitcom star to conspiracy theorist in a sci-fi thriller, that's range, that's evolution, that's an actor refusing to be boxed in by other people's expectations. Now, let's talk about something that makes Ken's story even more compelling, his personal life. In an industry where relationships are often as public as they are temporary, Ken has been with his wife for over 14 years. But here's the beautiful part. They were friends for decades before they ever started dating. Think about that approach to love. While Hollywood relationships crash and burn in the spotlight, Ken built his relationship on a foundation of genuine friendship, mutual respect, and shared history. Their family life tells us everything we need to know about Ken's priorities. His daughters attend a language academy, learning Spanish, and moving on to Mandarin. This isn't just about education, it's about Ken preparing his children for a global future, giving them tools he never had, breaking cycles, and building generational wealth that goes beyond money. At 49, Ken's estimated net worth sits around $500,000. Now, in a world where we measure success by social media followers and flashy purchases, that might not sound like much, but here's what that number really represents. Consistency. It represents a career built on talent, not hype. It represents someone who's been working steadily for decades, who's survived industry changes, personal setbacks, and economic downturns. Ken's current projects prove he's not slowing down. Whether it's his recurring role on The Oval, surprise Instagram posts, or short films, he's mastered the art of staying relevant without desperate attention-seeking. He understands that in today's entertainment landscape, it's not about one big break. It's about consistent presence, genuine connection with your audience, and the ability to adapt to whatever comes next. But here's what makes Ken Lawson's story truly inspiring. It's not just about entertainment success. It's about resilience. It's about a man who's been knocked down repeatedly, but keeps getting back up, keeps finding new ways to connect with people, keeps pushing forward, even when the industry seems to have forgotten about him. His journey from suburban kid to sitcom star to industry survivor to family man represents something deeper than just career success. Ken's legacy isn't measured in Emmy nominations or box office numbers. It's measured in the laughter he's brought to millions of people, the positive messages he's shared, the example he set for other actors trying to navigate an unforgiving industry. Every time someone watches The Parkers reruns and laughs at T's latest scheme, Ken's impact continues. Every time an actor facing career setbacks remembers that Ken Lawson survived and thrived after his own struggles, his influence spreads. A world that often discards yesterday's stars, Ken Lawson has proven that talent, persistence, and authenticity can create a lasting career on your own terms. His story reminds us that success isn't always about being the biggest name in the room. Sometimes it's about being the most genuine, the most resilient, the most willing to keep growing and evolving no matter what life throws at you. So the next time you're watching The Parkers and T is cooking up another one of his schemes, remember that the man behind that character has lived through plot twists that would make his TV storylines look simple. Ken Lawson didn't just play a character who always had a plan, he became a man who could adapt to any situation, overcome any setback, and keep moving forward with grace, humor, and unshakable determination. And maybe that's the most important lesson of all, that in Hollywood and in life, it's not about avoiding the setbacks, it's about how you respond to them, how you use them to grow, and how you keep your eyes on the prize even when everything around you is falling apart. Ken Lawson's story is far from over, and something tells me the best chapters are still being written.